Hi, I'm Nivedita Indrajit, and I'm with Anjali Paruvu, one of my favoriteest people on the planet. Apart from, of course, Vidur and the dogs and everybody. I am me when I'm with you, and I know you're you when you're with me. Am I correct?
Yes.
So thank you for doing this. I asked you before, and I've seen you grow from like a tiny thing to who you are today. I respect you a lot for who you become, and it's so beautiful to watch you. So we know each other because I came to your mother for therapy. Then you looked after Vidur when I was in sessions. And I saw this tiny kid with another tiny kid. And it used to warm me a lot. And then I saw it grow. We did art together. Then we did sleepovers together. Then we hang out. So I look at you like a young adult or a leader in the future or whatever. When I say leader, it's not like a huge responsibility or anything, but I just look at, oh, wow, she thinks differently. She expresses differently. She's willing to take it, even if it takes a little time, she's willing to go there. Or that's what I've seen. So thank you. How have you seen yourself change, like from your child till now?
When I was really young, I was very loud and very expressive, and it's like I was not shy, as in I would like dance or make skits or do my dramatics in front of anyone who was willing to watch. But when with school and all, and I was like 7, 8, I went very quiet. I could not speak to people at all. It was like around when we met only, but I didn't really socialize or talk to peers or anything then. But over time, now people, at least in my class, they know me as just I as like as just a leader position. I take responsibility if it's being given. So and I talk to people and I like talking to people, and yeah, that was quite a change for me from wanting to like hide and be invisible in crowds to actually wanting to uh, have conversations. But
You also write, you have
I
a
do.
blog. Can you say more of how you started that? And
So my father always had a blog all his life, and he's been writing these blogs about me also
yeah,
for a long time about what he learns from me and my stories or whatever. He published a book and stuff
yeah,
called "This Was Easier, Dad." Get the plug in.
yeah, yeah,
About a compilation of all these books. But at one point, I found myself telling him more and more like, that's not how I wanted to say it. No, that's not what I was saying. I don't think you got it. And then it's like, I think I should just tell it on my own. I don't think I need him to tell these stories of anymore.
so
And
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I just really, it's very like releasing. I know that's like people say that a lot. It's very releasing to say what you want to say, even if no one is reading it, but like you're putting it out in the world that this is what I feel right now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I was going to ask you was, like, when you started writing, right? Is there like something that inspires you that you write about, or is it like your daily kind of a thing that, oh, today this inspired me, or this is what I want to talk about? Is it a sense of self expression, and how do you express yourself in words versus how do you express yourself in art? Because I've seen your art as well.
When I was younger, it was basically like a lot of fantasy and imagination of like what I want to live in or what you want to be. But recently, it's been more of like whenever like something like very intense, like you can't keep it in, that's like where you get it out. So in that way, I wrote a lot of poems because poems don't need to make sense. I mean, stories also don't need to make sense, but they need to have some sequence, right? Or some
Yeah.
logical uh, line of event, but poetry just doesn't have to make any sense. So that was nice. But when I do write, it is normally from what you know, like from the surroundings you grew up in or the social circles. Because I mean, however much imagination there is, it's always something that affected you or it's like linked to your life. Because I mean, how can you write like pages and pages about something you don't know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and art. When I met you and when I was young, it was just a lot of fun. It was so easy to just workshop. I saw all these new tools that I'd never seen before. There's this rolling thing and there's this scraping thing. So I just so it just art was just a fun way to like whatever is going on in your head, it's like your brain on paper. And I mean, as I became older, I don't know, like when you see, like a lot of people have a very conventional view of like art. I have one of my uh, relatives also, I'd shown her one of my abstract paintings. Like, I just don't understand abstract. If you want to draw a flower, just draw a flower. So that's like, they have a very fixed sense of what good art is. And so I also was like, this is not like talent or anything, but I mean, art, I guess, is just again expression. If you're good at expression, yeah, something will make you something. So I think, yeah. And now I'm getting more into like painting based on your feelings, which is one of the few things you taught me. So that was fun.
I've seen you meticulously paint every night, like before you sleep.
Yeah.
How did that start?
Now the recent days have been like a lot of work, and you don't really get time to yourself. And painting is just a nice time to just get lost if that like doesn't just in some other world, some fantasy. It's like you're a little detached. And I think it's nice to have some time to get detached. So it's like meditation, but you get to do some stuff also.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, which probably is not something I can ask anybody else, but this is something I can ask you. Like when I grew up with my parents, right? I've had only a parent which is highly spiritual, or a person who's highly into sports and stuff. You have a pair of parents who are into different things, not the usual, like not the job and other stuff. Does that have a different impact on how you function, or is it also like, oh, okay, I see them make their own mark, and does it become like, like how they talk about movie stars and star kids, does it become difficult for you to find yourself?
It's like even growing up, it's like very different. Like I had a mother who worked, who had sessions, who most kids don't know what it means to have sessions. What are therapy sessions? It's like an emotional doctor, guys. So, and my father worked from home. He didn't go out. He was there at home. He was there to drop me, there to pick me. And all my friends had these 9 to 5 job fathers and housewives, mothers. So it was difficult growing up, and I didn't really tell people a lot about my home life because I didn't want to seem different. But I think as I've like grown up and I'm most of feel with the space that they give you to express yourself, the space they give you to tell your choice or to just the small things, like I never got yelled at for crying. I never got scolded for small things like waking up late or something. They would tell me, but they gave me space to be myself at the same time. It's a very like a rare thing, especially in like Indian Hyderabad, not Hyderabad, but an Indian family. You don't see that much allowance and freedom, which are very cool to grow up in. at the same time, I think I took a lot of stress, basically because all my friends have these strict parents, and they always had like conflict or whatever. And I was like, oh, I have these nice parents. I have to be their best daughter. There's something I owe them for being so nice to me. So I was always trying to be something I was not, in order, because I thought that would make them happy. And it made it difficult for me to like express myself to them, or just, be a kid for a bit. But yeah. So yeah, it's an amazing place to grow up in. And you have so much, they treat you like a person with feelings and thoughts, and you can talk to them about anything. But at the same time, sometimes it feels like a lot of pressure, because they're so nice that you like, I don't deserve this much nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's how it makes you feel sometimes. But then, what if you didn't have to be something for them,
Yeah.
right? So now that you recognized it, how would you approach, like, recently we were talking about, like, I asked you recently that, can you do this interview? And you readily agreed. And versus a few years ago, maybe 2, 3 years ago, you would be not in that space. So what made you change your mind? Like,
Uh, so I've had like a problem with like, as I was saying, like this self, like what makes me me, because I'm like a very people pleaser person. I don't really like conflict, and I don't really like seeing people upset. And I'm very like, it's like very this thing to like a chameleon to change your colors based on whatever's going on around me. And I'm like starting to become a little aware of that. That people like you, people like Vidur, people like my cousin who stays upstairs, I just see them being themselves so like boldly, that I'm like, I can do this too. I mean, if you just, like you were telling me, if you just take that space for yourself, people will have to, they can't, they won't have that power anymore if you just take your space. So when you first asked me for the interview, I was very nervous, because I thought when people see this, they will think, oh, this is not what I thought Anjali was. Oh, I don't like this new person. This is not what she was like. I was again like trying to, not just my parents, like everyone's
expectation of who
expectations.
you should be.
Yeah. I was trying to fit everyone's expectations, which is impossible. Just one person is enough. Yeah, I was trying to be everyone's perfect person. And yeah, so I didn't want people to like see me like raw, like
Yeah.
whatever like as it comes.
Yes.
Anjali.
Vulnerability is
But
not something that can be received so well, and you fear judgment, right?
yeah, yeah, you don't want people to, yeah, because again you're opening yourself up, and to one person only it takes me a bit of time. But yeah, for so many people it was a little hard. But now this time I said yes, because I think I'm my own person now. I was my own person before. I was just not like accepting that. And
Yes.
now I'm trying to, yeah, validate
So
my own feelings.
what would you tell the people, like the children or the growing adults, like your age, a little less than you or slightly older, who may be going through this phase of change? You're growing from a child to a young adult to an adult, and people start treating you differently, and you also start seeing a bigger social circle than before. What would you tell them to explore, if or give themselves a chance or whatever? Like, what is that few things you would say, hey, go for it?
Yeah. So the first thing was, when I was growing up also, I used to ask people further advice or their thoughts on what I was doing a lot. And while advice can be great when you ask from the right person, you shouldn't let what someone else thinks of you to dictate what you are. As I mean, that sounds very like simple, but at the end of the day, you can listen to what people say, but if you feel something is right, you should stick to it. I mean, that's who you are. It's really not worth changing that to please a few people who won't even be there. I mean, at the end of this life, who will who's going to benefit from you making yourself miserable, right?
Yeah. Those are wise words to be
Yeah.
hashtagged, actually. So, what do you think is the future? Like, what do you think you would like to do on this planet Earth? What is it that you're looking forward to? I know it might change in a few years, but right now, from the space that you're in, what is it that you see yourself doing, being?
People always keep asking me like, what do you want to do and you what do you want to become? I just want to be happy, guys. Because
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't actually have no idea as like a career or a lifestyle what I want to do. But I think whatever feels good. I want to be in a space where I can just go with what feels good because it takes a lot of effort to do that also. Some if I had to do something, I think easy for me to create, to think, to actually lead also. Something that involves um something that involves creating or thinking or leading is something I would like to do.
I'd like to ask you a question about how you actualize things because I know that you loved having a dog. And I would
So
like you to share your experience about how you actualized a pet, which worked out, it's like for you,
yeah, so like for the few people I've told, including you, I've always wanted a dog, all like forever. Even when I was like young, my parents used to tell me I used to go and play with street dogs ironically. So and I had this whole fit when I was 8. I made up these contracts of like when I get a dog, I will do this work, you will do this work, you will pay this much amount, and I made my parents sign it. And I used to watch these videos on different breeds of dogs all day. I was very obsessed, and I'd made this kitty bank also. Uh, as I heard somewhere that a dog costs 25,000. So I wrote 25,000 on the kitty bank, and I just don't have 25,000 yet. But I really did determined to get a dog. Then I gave up on it for a bit because my mother and my father were not really budging. And then Shakti came, and then Aranya came, and then Icarus came, and then there's so many of these dogs. I can't do this anymore. I need my own dog. And I came to your house, and I stayed with your dogs. I got to see your dogs, and I have this whole book of notes by Nivedita Auntie. If anyone wants to buy a copy on all her dog tips on all the medicine, all the vaccination, even the emotional stuff on how you take care of a dog and what is required of you. And I didn't push it too much. I spoke to my mother. I said, wait, can you get a dog? I said, yeah, because when I was 8, she said, we'll get it when you're 13. I'm 14 now. And then she said, well, I'm 13 now. You said she's like, we'll see. And then in April of 2021, my father said, there's this mother dog. She gave birth in the colony. I don't know. She keeps yelling. So I went looking out on the road and all, where is this dog? And then he said, you didn't see her, she's in our house. I was like, what? She's right inside our house in the corner, in the garden. There's this hay colored dog and 4 puppies. And yeah, this life turned upside down since then. So yeah, so it was 4 puppies. She used to growl at us a lot initially because she's a mother. But I made efforts. I would stand outside for like 1 hour. Then you move one step forward. Doesn't growl. You stay there. You move 2 steps forward. She growls, you take a step back and you just wait there. Once she's comfortable with that, it was a lot of work. But slowly she gained trust with food and with pets. And yeah, so we had 4 pups and one mother dog just hanging around our house after that. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but it's very like dangerous for puppies out there because there's always these other the dogs are very territorial on the street. There are always these other dogs coming trying to attack. We lost 2 dogs to attacks. Oh, sorry. So my dog's name is Akela. I named her that because of the Jungle Book, and she's solitary now, but she's not alone. Um, the puppies I named them I looked at them one day and I just named all 5. So they were Krur, which means ruthless in Hindi. There's a black dog. She got lost. He was there with us for a while, very cute. One more was Zindagi, who sadly we lost to an attack. Then we had Zor and we had Sona. So Sona, Sona, Zor and Akela were with us for a long time, from April to like July. And yeah, Sona, once she got her leg fractured, so we had to keep her inside with the splint and all. He got very close to us, sleep on my bed. All Sona was our dog. My parents warmed up to her, which I never thought was going to happen. Once I heard my father going, "What, Nana?" And I was like, "What happened?" And like, "Not you, the dog." Like, okay. So yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of this thing because I mean, we knew we couldn't have 3 dogs. I would have loved to have 3 dogs, but my mother and father didn't really want that. And it was a lot because my mother and father were very clear that they were not going to have anything to do with this. So, I mean, they did help, but it was me doing most of the potty cleaning, the feeding, I had to be there like all the time, wake up in the middle of the night to save this dog from some other male. Yeah, so it was a lot, and I didn't really let myself do anything because my mother was not in a very great space at that time, and I was trying to like, I don't know, hold fort or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I said, one day they said, let's have a meeting about what we're going to do. And both my parents were crying, saying, how can we give them away? And I was like, are you going to help me take care of them? Like, we can't, we physically can't or something. Then we have to give them away. So we gave Sona and Zor to my father's friend's farm. Very happy. I've seen them once since then. But yeah, that was a weird experience. And we didn't move Akela because Akela was a street dog all her life. We didn't want to uproot her and move her somewhere else. So she's still here. She's still Akela. But
in and out of the house whenever she wants, and it's perfect. Right?
Yeah, Akela is full spoiled now. Goes jumps on the beds, much to my mother's dismay. And she's really grown close, and yeah, both parents and I very part of the family now.
Yeah. So all these are there, right? Like all the ups and downs. And how does that feel?
Yeah, this was a very emotionally like taxing experience. But I wouldn't like trade it in for anything. It was very beautiful, whatever it was. It was a very uh, worth it experience. All the running, all the crying, all the laughing, all the joking around. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, at the end of it, we have one mad fellow left. So it was worth it.
I know. So is there any question that I didn't ask you, or is there something that you would like to really talk about, which means a lot to you?
About this,
About anything?
I don't really have anything. I can talk about anything a lot. I have a lot of stuff in my head.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite movie in the latest?
Okay, latest. Well, I keep forgetting all the movies I've seen, but right now I really like Top Gun Maverick with Tom Cruise. I feel like those that music and those scenes and the drum, the pilots were really fun. But going before, I used to like what is that? Okay, I forgot the name. But wait, there's this movie called Jojo Rabbit also. I'm really into history and stuff like basically history and government and stuff like that. So I really like Jojo Rabbit. It's like a playful take on Nazi Germany and stuff. At the same time, you have to enjoy the time pass comedy.
Yeah.
So Bhool Bhulaiya, Jio, all these like fun movies because life can get like very down sometimes, and you need to just let go.
Yeah. There are some existential questions I saw on your wall. How did you pick on that course? I know you did that course, and I know you asked yourself, and there's a lot of introspection that you did. Would you like to talk about it? Like,
Yes,
the details of it, at least, like what made you go there, and
so it
would it be
was
a nice thing to? Okay, let's go with that.
so it was COVID. It was 2020. Had nothing to do with myself. May. One sec. Yeah, sorry. I'm outside now.
Oh, I thought I paused it earlier, and then I thought I was continuing, but then this is good. I like the intermission and then location change.
So yeah, there was COVID, summer 2020. I didn't know what to do. But then I heard about this thing called Udemy, which does these like courses or whatever. So there's a bunch of free courses, and I enrolled for a few. And one of these was existential philosophy, of which I had no idea what it was. So it was by this guy called Karim Benamar, and I really had no idea why I picked it because I never done anything like this. It was really fun and a very like logical way of looking at things that are not very logical, like stuff like why do humans exist? What is purpose? All these feel like very spiritual things, but there's like a lot of thought and logic and science people have tried to uh, put into things like this. So it had the history of peoples and their thoughts on why we exist. So they had Frederick Nietzsche, they had Albus, they had Camus, they had all these things, and just like a very brief version of all these ideas. And it was fun. So I made like a little summary called existential questions. Like what, like when I did the session, it really like grounded me for a few days. Like I was like, yeah, now I know why I'm alive, what I'm going to do and all that. But it's very easy to like lose track of that. So I stuck it on my board. I keep asking myself, like, is it worth it? Like, am I happy with what I'm doing now? Am I being stopped by fear? Am I acting based on a fear? I have the list. I'll show you later. But
Yeah, this is also good, that we change location because now we can get to see Akela if she's around.
oh, doesn't like standing on that. Sitting on the step.
There you go.
Oh,
Hello, superstar. Hi, Akela.
shivering.
So, thank you for being here this evening. And I know this is very spontaneous and it's like a synchronous thing, suddenly it just happened. So happy Sunday today, actually, although this is going to be aired much later in August. And I think I'm going to air yours first. Are you okay with airing whatever we have talked about?
Yes.
And what is that one punchline you would tell the world? Hey, this is what I'd like to have, or whatever. Like, what's your ask?
Has
We froze for some time.
yeah, you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, my ask is have fun, guys. No, I think that's all it is.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anjali.
Thank you.